The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, CHD. It is Thursday, the 23rd of April, 2026. We're live here at Financial Rebellion, and we have an interesting show for you today. But first, Carolyn and I are going to look at a couple of headlines. So the first one is Zen Honeycutt there tweeting out, "Thank you to Rep Mace, a true health hero." So this is Nancy Mace files amendment to strip all harmful pesticide provisions from the Farm Bill. So thank you to her. Good news.
Yes, it's not final, obviously. I mean, it's an amendment. They can
Right.
vote it down, but
I mean, good start. We need people like her. All right, next bit up, which is really exciting news. I have a big heart for the military, as many of you know. Major victory, military ends flu vaccine mandate for all service members. So this is huge news. And on Monday, we're going to be bringing Pam Long on and a few other military members to talk about this in depth for you all. But the military have been suffering for so long. Many of them describing themselves as lab rats, had no idea when they signed up for the military that they would be used as lab rats. And we've seen a lot of footage in our new film, Duty to Disobey, which is out very soon. So all of you who want to go and see that, we have a one-day theatre run on the 30th of June. So if you go to our landing site for Duty to Disobey, you will be able to sign up for that there, dutytodisobeyfilm.com, and you'll be able to sign up for that. And so it'll be good to see all of you. I'm going to be here at the one in Austin. But Carolyn, I was involved heavily with interviewing a lot of these military members, and it is truly disgusting.
oh yeah.
What our military go through. I'm not talking about war or anything here right now, guys. I'm talking about what they deal with on a day-to-day basis and what they have injected into them, what the pharmaceutical meds that they're given to trial out. It is unbelievable. And I think once you realize that and understand what they're going through, it'll upset you as much as it's upsetting me. But whatever you think about what's going on right now, these people are good human beings that are out there to defend us so we can sleep well at night. That is what they want to do. And the heartfelt stories, Carolyn, when they tell us how many of them joined after 9/11 to defend the country. And they really, really are passionate about us. They want to keep us safe. And yet they have no freedom. They want to give us our freedom, but they have no freedom because they're being jabbed up and mandated and screamed at and put in. Some people were put in like isolation units and starved until they would take the COVID shot.
Yeah, and the other bad news is that people who are aware, who might potentially join the military, may not join. So some of the more educated, freedom-loving people may avoid military service in order to, protect their health.
This brings up a big problem, which the film also addresses as well, is that not to give away this whole film, but not one of the people we interviewed would let their child join the military as it stands today. So if you think about that, and then you think about the 1 in 31 with autism like my Billy, who can't join the military even if they want to, then you think about all the dead babies that were killed from the vaccines that will never join the military, and you think about all the Gardasil victims that are paralyzed that will never join the military. We actually have a massive problem. And because we need a military.
Right, and early retirements too. People taking retirement or not signing up again.
Yeah, so duty to disobey, everyone. And that is great news. The flu vaccine is now not mandated for the military. That is huge news for the military. I'm very pleased for them. Now, if we could move on to getting rid of the anthrax for them, that would be great.
Yes, that was a terrible.
Unbelievable. It's still mandated anthrax for deployment. Terrible. Anyway, people, I could go on about this forever, and this is not what the show is about. It's about programmable money. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to see a clip. Then we're going to bring on our very brilliant guest.
Make no mistake, economic survival will depend on biometric obedience unless we just say no. There's a backbone that enables all this. Two systems that must be in place. for their comprehensive control system to function. Digital ID and programmable money. Those are the single point of failure for their entire control infrastructure.
CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to allow targeted policy functions, welfare payment, consumption coupon, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food.
Can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates, a potentially better and some people might see it as a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control.
Well, Carolyn, let's bring on our guest, David Lichty. I don't know if I said that right, David, but welcome to Financial Rebellion.
You did. That's great. Thank you so much.
Well, my first question is, the name of this show is We Don't Need Programmable Money or something like that. So
Why we don't want it?
Well, first of all, why don't we want it? And my main question is, what even is it?
Programmable money is money in digital form, purely digital form, that is embedded with code that allows it to be automatically allows the behavior of it or the use of it to be automatically triggered, essentially. So you have there's a difference between current digital money that we have in your bank accounts. You've got your bank account that if you need to use, if you want to transfer the money, you go to your bank or you go online, you go to you use your debit card. These are but the money itself, the ledger, the entry on the digital ledger itself is sort of agnostic. It just sits there unless you trigger it to move. If programmable money is where the money actually has coded in it to it can be for a lot of different reasons. Something can trigger it. There are things called under certain circumstances you want money to move. It can be
It can expire.
It can expire. So for instance, use cases that are being brought up for this would be for instance, stimulus payments. There are payments where it's a limited stimulus. It wants to be, money wants to, the economy, government wants to stimulate the economy for a certain amount of time, and so they give money that's good only for a certain amount of time. It'll expire. Or there's money that is maybe only useful with certain banks or some certain vendors, certain
types of things that you would purchase.
Pardon me?
Right? Types of things that you would purchase. There was already a crypto.
Sure.
I think we talked about it on a previous show where Circle, which is a type of crypto, which is programmable, embedded a rule that you couldn't use Circle money to purchase guns, and there was a hue and cry about it, and they reversed the decision. But that was an example of showing that it can be done.
Right. Yeah. Well, so in Circle, it was an internal policy, and how exactly it was being implemented, I'm not 100% certain of, but they could definitely. They could definitely have used it just with the terms of what we call smart contracts, which is something that there's different ways that the code can be used. But a smart contract is basically a way of triggering this sort of thing. So they could have said any firearm dealer, they just embed it into the code of the money. Any firearm dealer cannot receive a transaction. And it was not just firearms, it was also ammunition, other related things, any kind of weapons.
So this would be a way of blacklisting some recipients,
Yeah, it could be. And
potential recipients of the money.
definitely. And we could see it already. You could see it, I mean, currently. So just to take the example of sanctions, any kind of money that we have now, the US dollar, that if you want to send money to Iran, for instance, or to Cuba, that will be flagged and blocked. Banks have to do that anyway. So one potential for this programmable money is that the issuers of the programmable money can simply write that in the code. And so whereas with a bank, the mechanism is that the transaction comes into the bank, it goes through a filter before it's actually executed. And then the filter will flag the transaction, and someone has to look at the transaction, and they have to determine whether or not it can be allowed or should be blocked or should be frozen. There's a lot of steps involved. With the programmable money, the money itself, as soon as the transaction is attempted, it can automatically trigger and block or freeze the transaction. So it's already, and that's with the Genius Act. Actually, no, it's not under the Genius Act, but with the Genius Act requires this, but FinCEN, the Financial Crime Enforcement Network in the U.S., they have it's with, well, getting ahead of myself a little bit, but one type of programmable money that has been in the news a lot. It has to do with the Genius Act. Are stablecoins, and stablecoins as being programmable money, they have the ability to embed this sort of sanctions compliance in the money itself. It's just one aspect of it. And but the potential for it is that it could be used for, like, in these positive use cases that are being sort of touted. You have the potential for restricting to, for instance, like a benefits, food stamp benefits, that sort of a thing. There are certain restrictions placed on that already.
Which foods can be bought, or
Correct.
which
foods
purchases at a
exactly.
grocery store.
Yeah, and that can be actually embedded into the money itself, the code of the money. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Can you
if that's
explain the difference
confusing.
David, can you explain, because I think many people are going to say, well, that we already have, for example, food stamp cards.
Sure.
And the card may itself be something that that is a layer that restricts what you can purchase with it, but it's not in the money itself. So can you explain the difference between a programmable payment system and a programmable money?
Definitely. Well, it's like you said, the programmable payment system sits on top of the layer of on the money itself. So the money itself is agnostic. Like I said, it doesn't have any rules in it. It simply sits in your bank account on a ledger, and it takes another instruction from some outside source, such as a debit card or a wire transfer instructions, that sort of a thing, to actually be executed, the transaction, so for the money to move from my account to, say, Carolyn's account. It's the programmability comes from, and so current US dollars, electronic, the currency that's in your bank account, that is not programmable in itself. So that money, like we said, takes this extra layer of input to be able to move or to execute. It would be the creation of other digital assets, digital representations of money. It can be through stable coins. It could be through what we call tokenization or tokens, representations of this money. And I guess I'm there's a lot of different things that are happening, that people are trying, there's a lot of different ways for this to happen.
Yeah, what we're looking at is
Yeah.
this is for stablecoin, right? Or stablecoin, as I understand it, is there are existing stablecoins that have nothing to do with Treasury securities, right? They might be backed by gold, they might be backed by something else, but basically every bit of your crypto, your token, your coin, is backed by an equal value of something that's held in an account, like a reserve account. And so that's backing the token. And what the payment stable coins are is those are backed by treasuries. And this is a system that somebody thought up. Presumably one of the reasons behind it was because they don't have enough buyers of treasury securities, and this is a system to get purchases of treasury securities by everyday people who are having money in with something that's not a regular bank. It's with an issuer of a stablecoin. So it could be Amazon. And so you could be buying things with your stable coins, and there is something kind of like insurance because it's collateralized by treasury securities, but it is not backed by FDIC insurance. And you could, once this whole system is set up, we don't have it set up yet, right? But there can be a time when you can buy from Amazon with a stable coin instead of from your bank account, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
If stablecoin, if Amazon is the issuer. Now, so what this is about is an effective private CBDC. And I think our audience generally understands, oh my God, we don't want a social credit system embedded in our money. And they're thinking maybe incorrectly, well, if it's private, you don't have the government doing that. But the fact is that the same types of things can be done even through regulations, but otherwise government control somehow of the issuers of the stablecoin, but you don't have the protections that presumably would be involved with CBDCs. Because if it's going through the banking system, there are at least some protections, and presumably the regulations or that are being considered contribute to some stability within the system, but it's not the same thing as being regulated by a bank, right? And some of these stablecoin issuers would probably be affiliates of banks.
Well, so a few points on that. So you're correct that stable coins in general are simply a cryptocurrency or crypto asset, digital asset. And this goes back to there's a lot of back and forth about whether these should be looked at as investment vehicles or actually simply currency, like medium of exchange. Stable coins in general are simply something that is a token that is pegged to a real world asset. So it could be pegged to gold, it could be pegged to oil, it could be pegged to the yen, it could be pegged to a basket of currencies. The Genius Act in the US has created what they call payment stablecoins. Payment stablecoins are a subset of stablecoins, and they are, like you said, specifically pegged to the US dollar, either cash or treasuries. And there's a lot of there are a lot of statements out there that indicate that one of the big reasons for this is because of putting this in place is to create a bigger treasury market, or increase the need for using treasuries. But there are restrictions around with the payment stablecoins, who can issue them. They need to be affiliates of financial institutions or subsidiaries. There are different restrictions around that. But private companies 100% could become affiliates of financial institutions. Amazon could do that. They could arrange themselves in some way to have a to have a stable coin that is specific to Amazon. And then they could put restrictions around it. It doesn't mean that if they were to simply say we'll only take our stable coin, I don't know what the implications of that would be. I mean, other than they could restrict what you can and cannot do. If someone was to only, for instance, the idea of Circle that we've used before. So Circle coin and Tether are the two largest payment stable coins currently.
Well, they're only stable coins now, aren't they? They're not payment stable coins yet, are they? Or are they?
That is a good question.
Are they backed by treasuries? I mean, most of their business is in, other assets backing.
Sure. Yes, I am speaking too quickly on that. But the idea of these as stable coins, though but the idea with Circle, for instance, with the potential for simply on their own blocking off certain types of transactions is one side. But you also have in the Genius Act, through the language that's in there, is the restrictions that could be imposed by the U.S. government. Sanctions is one that's 100% there, but the
money laundering, the money laundering rules that the banks are now imposing separately, because the banks have to look at payments over, transmissions of money over $10,000, or, know your customer rules. Those are enforced by the banks through their systems, but in the case of stablecoins, that would all be built into the stablecoin itself.
Correct.
So it's bank-like regulation of non-banks, right? Any issuer of these payment stablecoins.
Yeah, and with the payment stablecoins, though, they are regulated by the OCC, by the right. By the Fed. They follow the same rules as it with regulation in that way. Other stablecoins it's CFTC. They're maybe treated
Commodity Future Trading
right, and the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. The Clarity Act, which is sort of stuck in the Senate right now, is really what is going to sort of determine which of those two which of those two governs or regulates these digital assets, and it'll probably split between both to an extent, depending on what the assets are. So, but the payment stablecoins, the specific Genius Act ones, those are being treated as if they are cash, to the extent that they're regulated as the issuers are being regulated as financial institutions, like
by the Office of OCC, the Office.
The Office of the Comptroller. And it depends on how the but yes, there are 3 or 4 federal agencies that
Right.
could potentially be
So,
regulated.
David, taking it down to the most basic level, why does the regular person care about this? And is it something that's going to come in and all of a sudden be in existence and everything's going to change in terms of their options for paying for things?
It's a very good question. It is. I think that the potential, of course, is there. I think that so I suppose I hesitate. There's a lot that has to happen if in my opinion, um, for these stable coins and CBDC like private forms of payment to become so ubiquitous, so commonplace that it takes over everything. I don't. There's a potential for it. One of the issues that we're facing right now, or one of the next steps in this, is tokenization of assets, and that is looking at it's taking for instance, the digital representation of your mortgage, locking it up into a vault, a digital vault, and then issuing a, a sort of a token, like a stable coin, like that sort of a digital asset that has all of these wrappers, all of this, they call them wrappers, but this all of this code embedded in it that will take the place of all the mortgage things, and all the, if in the case of stocks, and take the place of all the due diligence, and so things can be traded a lot quicker. 24/7 trading, mortgages could be resolved much quicker, and financial institutions are moving this way because of perceived advantages that they have. So I think as this happens, as it moves faster to what they call on chain, so you're moving these things onto blockchains, which are the fundamental. And I apologize, there's a lot of lingo here. I don't want to get too confusing, but there's the potential that quicker payment systems will be needed, that these payment stablecoins will be used far more frequently. It's kind of a Wild West unknown, but I think it's the potential for stablecoins to become much more um, much more embedded in our economy is great. One of the big positives on this, though, however, for instance, Japan is a very cash-based, cash-intensive economy, from what I understand, and Japan has stepped back a lot of their implementation of different digital assets, of payment systems, because of that, and other places that have tried to go to an all digital economy have found that there are issues with that. So whether or not cash will be replaced 100%, I doubt it. I think that realistically there needs to be pushback, though. I mean, Japan has a cash-based economy. They use a lot of cash. There are segments of our own economy that require cash, that depend on cash, and it's very important to be able to have that. The one of the big issues with stable coins, with digital, with programmable money in general, is simply the potential for surveillance, the potential for lack of privacy. There are a lot of different approaches. The essence of, just to take it back a step, programmable money, it really originated from Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first technology to solve this ability to have what they call a permissionless payment system where basically you don't need a central authority that says this is the money that you can use. Bitcoin did this by using, they didn't create it themselves, but by using what's called a distributed ledger technology and a blockchain technology. Basically, they take all of the records, the digital records or the ledgers, and it's distributed across many, many, many different computers across the world. And then they use what's called blockchain. And blockchain technology, essentially, it takes transactions, puts them into blocks, groups of transactions, and then uses a cryptography technology to create sort of a code for each, like a symbol. It's called a hash. They use a hash function to create a numeric, like a long number string that is unique to that group of data. If you change any bit of data in that group, the hashtag, the hash will completely change. So it's a way that you can know that all the transactions have not been tampered with.
Okay, David, who has access to the information about the transactions on the blockchain?
So and thank you, Carolyn. That is the biggest concern, is that these are open. Anyone has access to it. If for public ledgers, and most blockchains are public ledgers. Bitcoin is one. Ethereum is another. Those are the two biggest blockchain platforms, they call them. Ethereum is so. Bitcoin now it originated as a payment system, but it's now moved more to what is a store of assets, so a store of value asset. It's not used very much. There are different reasons for that. Ethereum is blockchain. Blockchain has a very limited ability to code programmability. Ethereum is one that is really the other one that your viewers need to know about. Ethereum, a lot of 50% of stablecoins are built on top of Ethereum. At least it's my understanding. And then and Ethereum financial assets, that's where these smart contracts are used. They originated that. They developed the smart contract concept. But so the public nature of blockchain technology at the core of all of this cryptocurrency, all of this is open, and it's
But it doesn't have your name on it, right?
No,
There are numbers that somebody can
yes.
the government, for example, probably can go in and figure out which entry that's on a public accounting system, which entry applies to individual people, right?
It's actually even so yes. So just to step back, you have what are called public keys and private keys, and your private key is one that you keep. It's generated, you keep it secret. It's a huge number. And then your public key is what it goes out onto the blockchain when you want to do a transaction. And there are not ways yet to, well, there are ways to figure out who you are based on and your transaction information. In general, there's what's called pseudonymity. You're sort of anonymous, but there are ways actually with advances now in quantum computing. There's with the right quantum, with the right
Enough memory in the
memory
system
and the
to
right,
do it.
Right. They're able to actually figure out a lot of the to figure
To
not
hack
just
it.
the government. I mean the government. So there are two aspects of this. There is there's a lot of privacy concerns that are being there's a company called Zcash. There's another company that is um, they use what are called zero knowledge proofs. It's which is a I can't explain the specifics of how it works, but basically they're able mathematically to validate a transaction without saying what the transaction is. So they don't have to say what the it's at the base layer of what they use. Their encryption is it's so there's a lot more privacy there, and that's one that is thought will be able to scale on a privacy level up to a planetary basis. Ripple just came out with one called Tempo, which is backed by Visa and MasterCard, and so it's a big one that may also be able to solve this issue of transparency. That's one side of it. So you can have external actors, and there are actually people that are downloading. There's companies that are downloading blockchain information in anticipation of better quantum computing, so that they can actually break down
Bye.
transactions in the future. Um,
Right.
so it's there's just a lot going on with this. Um,
But at the base level, getting back to what individual people who are now using MasterCard and Visa, for example, presumably MasterCard and Visa could become involved in stable coins. They could be uh, members of the MasterCard Visa, group could
definitely.
become stablecoin issuers, and you could be paying through what we now see as a credit card. You could be paying through with a stablecoin, right?
I think there are different ways that you could do it. Yeah, I think that definitely Visa, MasterCard could become involved specifically as issuers themselves. I think with their work with Ripple and Tempo now, I think that maybe that's the way they'll go. But I think additionally, you may not see a difference with their some of this. You may not. It depends. I mean, if they start because. I mean, there's a potential that Visa and MasterCard may, and this is purely speculation on my part, but they may simply use these blockchains because they're faster in some ways to do international transactions, for instance. But you may not see it on your end, but they may be using it on the back end. That's
Right.
one thing. But um, it remains to be seen with that. I think. Um, uh, Yeah, it's an open question. I wish I had a better answer for that.
Right. So basically, we're in a period where something is looming. There are all sorts of proposed regulations. There's new statutory. There are regulators who don't know who's going to be regulating what. But something big is going to happen, and the Genius Act becomes effective in January of 2027. So that's fairly quick. And Polly asked me before the show, well, how does this impact children? And I said, well, you could program in a requirement for a vaccine and have the money not available until you got the vaccine, right?
Yeah, it could be that's one potential for it. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, the programmability of it is. I think, and there's there's obviously limits to my complete understanding about this and how it will work, but there's the potential to actually Well, I suppose with the potential for surveillance, with digital IDs, with medical records, the integration of all that information into these stablecoin, these not just stablecoins, but any sort of digital assets or payments, um, the smart contracts, the ability to, uh, like I said, integrate all this information. Yes, they could simply require you to, yeah, I mean, to have taken vaccines, have performed other duties, have stayed home, have not left,
Yeah, if you're a
10 miles of
protester,
your.
you protest something, your money could be turned off. Let's play the Brit card clip, which we've played before, but I guess a Brit card, Polly, you may know more about this than I do. In England, a Brit card has something to do with your availability of medical benefits under the national health system, but it's a card that you use, and somebody made this Brit card clip showing what could be programmed into a Brit card if a Brit card was used to make payments for things. And this is fairly scary, but I mean, these are just people saying what could happen, because it's so hard for us to know what could happen. But with programmability, there are all sorts of things that could be done. So let's play the Brit card clip.
Can I see your Brit card, please?
I don't have one. I don't have a smartphone.
We can't hear it.
Can I get another pint, please?
Sorry, sir. Your Brit card says you've exceeded your alcohol quota for this week.
Sorry, sir. Your Brit card says you've already flown twice this year. We're having to restrict passengers with higher than average emissions profiles.
Sorry, I'm afraid your funds have been temporarily frozen. Your recent social media post did not align with the government's narrative.
Sorry, I'm afraid your Brit card says you cannot purchase any more meat this week as part of our commitment to achieving net zero.
I've just logged in using my Brit card and it's saying I've already had 3 hours of internet today and it's locked me out.
So these are just what people are imagining could be controlled through the programming in the money. Polly, does this is this completely confusing, or do you think most
No, I
people
think
can
I think it's
understand this?
interesting. But I do just want to know how it will, because we're children's health defense, how all of this, because I want people to be motivated to do something about it. If it's going to end in a disaster, people need to know what to do, practical things that they can do. We always tell people to use cash, all that kind of stuff. But use the vaccine example. But I'm sure there are many others as well that go with this. Is this not all about control?
It's all about control. And, we have digital medical records now, which for the most part are controlled through the government, through the Medicare and Medicaid regulation, which is actually incorporated into hospital and nursing home and other healthcare facilities. And so there are all sorts of things that could be programmed in that have to do with medical aspects of your being. I mean, and we saw on the Brit card example, there could be carbon footprint measurements, and so you wouldn't be able to travel and if you had exceeded your carbon footprint. The Trump administration's trying to do away with a lot of the sustainability sustainability, it's not really regulations, it's sustainability measurements that major corporations have incorporated, including in banking, and most people just don't even know how much at the international and higher levels there is control. But we will start seeing more aspects of the control that already comes down from the Bank for International Settlements, the World Health Organization, the UN. There are all sorts of protocols and rules that we don't notice. We don't notice at all. And now in regulating what we can buy and how we can buy it, Imagine how many things are dependent upon your paying for something. You know, getting on a bus, getting gasoline in order to drive places. Those are all dependent upon your ability to use currency. And if the currency is regulated, if the currency can be adapted by some outside force to prevent you from being able to be free to do whatever you want with your money. The obvious example happened with the truckers. It's an analogy, but during COVID, the truckers were protesting the vaccine mandates. And what happened was people wanted to give money to support the truckers because presumably they're losing money protesting and not earning money. And what happened was the government of Canada went in and froze those accounts of money that was going to otherwise be able to support the truckers. And so that was an example of the type of thing that could happen automatically through the currency. The same thing that happened to the truckers, which is that they couldn't get money that people wanted to send them. There was something in between the buyer and the seller that prevented that transaction from happening.
Carolyn, have you done term of the day? You haven't done that yet, have you?
Yeah. Okay. Now, Solari has model legislation to put legislative guideposts on the use of programmable guardrails, on the use of programmable money. So at the state level, and of course, the Trump administration is attempting to prevent states from having regulatory authority over AI and a number of other areas, and we can expect that the federal government is going to try to override state provisions. But we have developed a model legislation that would put guardrails on the use of programmable money. Now, states, as I said before, a number of states basically said they're not going to have anything to do with CBDCs. But this is like a private CBDC, and we already have digital money. We have crypto that already exists. So you can't outlaw crypto, but you can limit whether a vendor in a state or even a state, the state itself, can mandate that the only mechanism for paying is through a programmable money. And so our model legislation would basically say that you're not allowed to only accept programmable money as a condition for a payment. Is that more or less a good example? The guardrail is, yes, it's legal to accept a crypto, a programmable money, but you can't mandate that only programmable money is accepted for the transaction. Is that more or less the summary of? And David was involved in drafting together with another attorney our model legislation.
Yeah, so there are two aspects of the model legislation that actually that one that there's no coercion. You can't coerce anyone to use a specific programmable money or any programmable money. But then there's also the misuse of programmable money itself by issuers. So there's the idea that it blocks issuers of programmable money from inserting anything in that is. We have a whole list of items that it can't, that you can't program.
Yeah, for example, you couldn't, it would be not permitted to discriminate on the basis of race or handicap or that type of thing. You couldn't restrict the use of it to not allow buying guns with it. Those are two examples, I think.
Yeah,
and
sure. Political speech and
right. If you're a protester, you can't. you can't have your money turned off, but
Any lawful activity, basically. Any
right.
lawful activity.
Okay. Now, what we do at Solari is we have monthly legislative briefings where our subscribers, and we want to offer this also to viewers. If you want to come in and become part of the legislative briefing, which is basically a Zoom call, explaining the particular topic, and we've done 2 so far on programmable money, and we're doing one on more or less on tokenization, the next one, which is April 30th. But if you want to bring in your legislator and invite your legislator or a legislative staff member to be invited to the live webinar, it's a webinar, you can contact us and let us know, and we can get you signed up. There's a part of the Solari Report website that's dedicated to the monthly briefings and the model legislation, and we'll have you see the URL at the bottom, but we'll put that in the notes also. And so if you're interested in participating, and then a week or so after, maybe 2 weeks after we do the briefings, they're available, and again, not behind our paywall. They're available to the public to go in and see the presentation on the particular legislative issue. And the whole idea is to educate legislators in why, for example, programmable money is not something that they want to encourage, or that they want to put guardrails on in this case, but that we've also done legislative briefings on the importance of cash, for example. Dave, do you have anything more on that?
So that we've done 2 presentations on programmable money so far, digital assets, that sort of a thing. The first one, if you want a sort of a systematic overview of this, I'd suggest going onto the website, watching the first of our presentations. It sort of lays out basically what money is, and then goes through different aspects of programmable money, how it's different. It may be it's more systematic, maybe a better explanation of it for you. And then this next one, we're moving into tokenization and sort of more specifics into the other parts of the landscape of.
Yeah, we did one on gold-backed digital currencies or precious metals, because there have been state laws for systems of issuing of gold-backed, having bullion depositories, and the state actually issuing gold-backed currency, which we would oppose. For one thing, it competes with private money, precious metals dealers, but it's programmable. Any money, understand that all bank accounts, when you get a statement of what's in your bank account, it's not cash, it's not a coin, it's not a bill, it's an accounting that the bank keeps, and that is digital. And so when we talk about digital money, almost all money is already digital. But when you put the programming on top of it and control how it's spent, that's what we're talking about. And we're talking about the need to put guardrails on that to prevent it from being abused. Now, there's some favorable aspects of programmable money, particularly for commercial companies, and also for international transactions. It makes it much easier to send money to another country. So, David, do you want to wrap up and tell us what we can do generally to know more?
Well, just really quick, one final aspect of it. One point that I wanted to make was that where there are issues with the security and the privacy, but when it comes to it, it was like with the truckers example. if the government has it comes down with a mandate of some sort, it won't matter what the privacy is, because of the structures that are in place will have to, there's the requirements for the stablecoins with the Genius Act for them to actually implement these laws that come down. So it's there's two aspects of that. We have to be vigilant, I think, making sure that we are on top of the potential for abuse of these sorts of assets. There definitely is some aspect, some part of this is going to be part of every one of us. If we work online, if we do any sort of online transactions, that sort of a thing, we're going to bump up against this. I think ensuring that we keep at least the cash aspect of our lives, the digital, um, the cash is just so important to ensure that we have this autonomous, this anonymous part, sorry, anonymous form of payment. I think that if um, working with legislators, and as Carolyn indicated, this touches on all aspects of our lives: food freedom, food safety, the ability to protect our children from vaccines, from other impositions on us, the ability, because if we don't have that potential to circumvent through cash, through other ways, they could,
Freedom. I mean,
it's
it
freedom.
basically is freedom.
Yeah, there's potential for locking down, and uh, but there's a lot of there's I think that there are one thing, as I read and I study this, I think there are a lot of people that are just looking to make money, and they don't really care how it happens and what the consequences are. But there are a lot of people who are very concerned about how this is going to roll out. I think the rollouts are happening fast, and with a lot of disregard, but there's a lot of caution as well. And I think that we just have to make sure that that our voices are heard, and that there's some, you know, that there's caution. But I
Can
think
I
there's
just mention, that the
Sure.
Genius Act, there are proposed regulations under the Genius Act, and we're going to put in the notes a link so that you can go in, and any old person, you'll see many of the comments. There's a link to see other people's comments so far. The comments are due May 1st, but there are a number of important players who are asking for extensions of the time, so there may be more time to do that. But you can understand better what some of the issues are by looking at some of the comment letters from other groups. For example, the home builders and the auto dealers are very much against the ability to effectively make interest on by buying stablecoins. And the payment stablecoins take money out of the banking systems. That's money that's put in treasuries instead of lending to for homes, for buying cars. The whole financial system is dependent upon banks making loans, and if banks don't have the money to make loans because the money is put into treasury securities to back the account, that is very much, as Catherine would say, a giant sucking sound out of the banks. So I very much encourage you to go in and look over what other companies and individuals have said about the proposed regulations, and also put in some comments yourself. I mean, if you agree with what some of the other people have said and want to add to it, go ahead and do that, because the more comment letters there are on something like proposed legislation, proposed regulations, look at what happened with the Telecommunications Act proposals. There were so many comments from constituents that the whole system of trying to keep localities from being able to regulate stop cell towers, basically, that's all been at least a very lengthy delay, if not a permanent stopping of the proposed regulations. And Children's Health Defense was key in organizing people to make those comments. So it's really important that you take action. And people say, "What can I do?" You can talk to your legislators, make sure that they're educated through our briefings. You can go in and talk to them. You can submit comments. But thank you so much, David, for this is really complicated, but the more you expose yourself to it and hear the same terms over and over again and look up some of the terminology, you do it 4 or 5 times, it starts to sink in, and then you realize that it's a really important thing to understand.
Agreed.
Well, David, thank you so much for your education. We really, truly appreciate it.
Of course, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great week.
Yeah, and to our viewers, thank you for listening. And next week will be Meryl Nass. And so Financial Rebellion will be on the following week. But tomorrow, you don't want to miss tomorrow's show, because Carl Jablowski is coming on to strip down Paul Offit's ridiculous statement. So that is happening tomorrow morning. So
that should be great.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that. All right. Goodbye, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Now tell everyone your name, please.
Terry Montgomery.
And this is about your wife.
I'll tell you about my wife.
I said this is about your wife.
Yes.
And what was her name?
Marjorie Ann Montgomery.
Beautiful name. Well, now she took 3 shots, 2 Pfizers and 1 booster Pfizer. Why did she think taking the Pfizer was a good idea in the first place?
I didn't. I told her doctor 3 times, no, I do not under any circumstance want her to have that shot. And she said, why not? I said, I was at the VA. The doctor at the VA asked me, are you going to get the booster shot? I said, are you? He said, no. I said, then you answered your own question. And her doctor asked me, why don't you want her to have it? And I told her the same thing about the VA saying no. Well, who are you to say that she can't have it? I said, I have power of attorney over my wife. I do not, under any circumstance, want her to have that shot. She gave it to her anyways. On November 12th, on November 25th, she passed away. 6 hours after she got the booster shot, she became sick, and she went downhill from that point.
So was your wife in a facility or something?
No, I could not even get her into the hospital. The doctor said, it's sinus problems. I said, it is not. It's from that booster shot. And she would not hear to that. The in-house nurse would come twice a week, said she needs to be in a hospital. I said, I know that. And she said, the only way you can get her into the hospital, take her to the emergency room, put her in a wheelchair, wheel her in, and walk out. I said, I cannot do that. I couldn't do it to my dog, let alone my wife. And it was, like I said, it took from the 12th of November to the 25th.
So did she die? Were you with her when she died?
Yes, I was.
I'm sorry to hear that. This happened to your wife. It's awful.
Yep.
Now, did you report it to Pfizer?
No, I did not. No, nobody said anything. Her doctor called me a week after she passed away. I was in a meeting, and she says, Terry, what do I put on the death certificate? You killed her, is exactly what I told her.
What did she say?
Nothing. Not a thing. And the death certificate says the COVID shot was what killed her.
Really? It's on the death certificate?
Yes.
Have you got a copy of that? Can I see it?
I don't have it with me.
Will you send me? I want to see that.
Yeah, I could, yes.
Now, well, so, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to...
I don't know. I've got a lawyer's name. I don't know if I'm going to be throwing good money after bad or what. If there's I would love to take that lady's license away from her.
I mean, it's terrible.
It is.
You said, do not give this to my wife. Why did you have power of attorney over your wife? Just 'cause your
We had it on both of us in case something like this happened. She was one of the main reasons I did not want her to have her. She was a recipient of a liver transplant in 1990 and never had any drawbacks from it, I guess. And it's a case that what I had heard, that if your immune system is down, the Pfizer shot is not the thing to have. That was my main reason for saying no.
But yet the doctor went ahead.
She went ahead and did it.
And you weren't there when she did it?
She took her into a room, and I asked my wife, I says, what did she do? She gave me the booster shot. And I said, that's great. I said, after I told her absolutely no 3 times. And her nurse even repeated that. They have it on, well, let me put it, it was on record. I won't swear it's on record anymore.
It's just terrible.
It is.
Now, what about you? How many shots have you had?
2.
Okay, no more?
No more.
Is everyone in your family done on these now? Do they understand the dangers?
Yep. Oh, I have 2 sisters that are nurses, and they just went berserk when I told them that we both had 2 shots. Why would you do that?
So that's nurses telling you?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's finished now on these vaccinations?
Yep.
You understand the dangers. What do you think when you walk around the bus and see all those names?
Makes me sad. Brings a tear to my eye that we are allowing the government to do this to us.
That's right. Well, I'm really sorry what happened to your wife. We're going to put her picture. This is our memorial in here. Everybody in here passed away. She's going to come on this bus with us. We're going to write her name on it. And we're just very grateful that you're warning people. That's what you're doing right now.
Yes. Anybody that says, ask about the shot, even the flu shot. I shouldn't say it, but the VA doctor told me, don't even take the flu shot. It's got substance from that vaccine in it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting where I'm sitting, I'm going to tell you don't take any shot. I've heard it all now.
Yeah.
So I've got a book for you. I'm going to give it to you.
All right.
This has been probably the biggest stop for giving out books. But thank you for telling your story. And we're truly sorry for your loss.
This and all CHD TV programming is made possible by generous support from viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution today to keep our programming going strong. Thank you.